asylum.
I also want to bring in David Leopold. He's an immigration attorney who joins us at the table. A lot of deep sighing as you heard Julia talk about her reporting.
Yeah, look, in the world of immigration, the notice to appear that Julia described, that is the key document. And actually appearing at the hearing on the date and time that designates is extremely important, because failure to appear is deadly. It's fatal to the claim. And what happens here is these people don't appear in El Paso at the court because they didn't know about the hearing, because they weren't given the notice to appear, they weren't given subsequent notifications. And so they're ordered deported in absentia, meaning their asylum case is thrown out by the immigration judge with no possibility of ever having their case heard. This is a violation of U.S. law. This is a direct violation.
I was going to say, is this legal?
Of course it's not legal. And I'm sorry, but there's no way that repeated mistakes, serial mistakes made by Customs and Border Protection on these forms can be excused in any way. This is a scheme, and this comes directly, in my view, from the attitude of this White House as espoused by the president and as espoused by Stephen Miller, his white nationalist advisor.
Julia, we hear a lot about the wall, but there is a big distinction, and I'd love for you to walk us through it, between the wall and these asylum seekers.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you think about what the president campaigned on when he wanted to rally people to his cause, who wanted lower immigration, who wanted to combat illegal immigration to the United States, he focused on the wall. But the thing that people like Stephen Miller knows is it has nothing to do with the wall if you're trying to get those numbers down. It's about making it harder for people who have a legitimate claim for asylum to come into the United States and make that claim. The reason why so many people continue to be pushed back right now is not because of the wall, but because of this policy known as Remain in Mexico that David and I just described, where they have to wait in Mexico for what could be years until they get their day in court. Now, part of the argument for this from the Trump administration is that asylum seekers come here, they pass the initial interview, and then it could be 2 years until they actually get to a judge who can make a decision, and then the rates of passing that day in court, actually getting the asylum granted to them by a judge, are far lower than the rates to pass that initial interview. And so you have some people who could disappear into the country or simply not qualify, and the United States doesn't have the resources to deport them all. So that is the argument for tougher asylum stance, but there have been other ways to grapple with this problem in the past. You could have more immigration judges. You could have a number of things to deal with the backlog without just throwing things at the wall in a way that will hurt people in their right for a due process.
David, I do want to make sure that we get to the ICE deportation story. What does that mean for an unaccompanied minor who is sitting waiting for somebody to claim them, or for these relatives and loved ones who want to come forward?
The ones remaining in Mexico?
No, for the ones who are now afraid that they will have information collected on them.
Well, this is another Stephen Miller scheme to blot out refugee care, unaccompanied minors, and asylum from the law without Congress doing anything. They know full well that this checking of potential sponsors and arresting potential sponsors is intimidating and has a chilling effect on the whole process. So what that means is longer detention for the children, more abuse for the children in detention. And we know from the government's own Office of Inspector General reports that the children in detention in ICE and CBP custody are not safe.
Right. David Leopold, Julia Ainsley, thank you both so much for joining us. Up next, ad spending like we have never seen before.